For this matchup, we can see down below that Divine Shield around a class means it's been protected and it was ineligible to be banned. Seiko protected his Priest, Pavel protected his Priest. And that resulted in Seiko having his Druid banned away. And for Pavel, his Warrior has been banned away. And so that's 2 times this week now that Pavel's had his Warrior banned in the lineup.
Yeah, Pavel, exact same situation as yesterday. Yesterday he was Protect Priest and he got his Warrior banned. Seiko, though, went with Protect Holy Wrath Paladin, which is something we spoke to Fino afterwards, and we got that great soundbite from Fino. He's like, yeah, I don't know what they're doing. Like, you just protect your Priest. You always do. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to call out Orange. He's stupid for protecting that mate.
Maybe you forgot it's Priest.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you forgot it's Priest. That's the memo. That's the neon lights that we need at the top of the broadcast. But this time, Seiko is switching to that more conventional Protect Priest kind of strategy, and then it's the Druid that bites the dust on his side.
Neither player queued up Priest after protecting it, though. What's the deviation? What's the variation rate?
Pavel got the good side of it. Holy Wrath Paladin into Quest Shaman. Good matchup for him.
It has been opposite week here on Europe, though. Every time we talk about a good matchup or something favored.
It's been freaking opposite season. I don't know about opposite week.
You're in the UK, or you're not in the UK, you're here in Americas. I'm casting Europe. TJ's with Dan. Something's happening.
Of course it's the right way.
The goodest card in Quest Shaman on 2.
Oh, the absolute goodest.
Important talking note for Pavel. Very much like Seiko has been, he has included the Soup Vendor over the Acolyte of Pain.
And also, Pavel, double True Silver list, since we spent so much time talking about that one True Silver from Yala in the previous series. Pavel playing 2 of them bad boys.
It's in place of a Subdue.
I wonder.
Tends to be the flexible spot. I've come to like the Subdue.
I love it. I think it's a great card. I think in so many spots, it just saves you a board clear.
The other day I was playing and I went, man, I got 2 True Silvers and a Subdue. I'm a genius. Kept getting down to 6 cards and being like, I'm out of card draw. It's like, oh, I don't have an Acolyte or a Soup Vendor in here. Ooh. So then I changed that and I was like, you know, I have a lot of card draw now, but I feel like I'm having hand space issues. I just don't really ever have pressure going. Oh, I don't have High Priest the Call.
See, I was really hoping the end of that story was I got down to like the last 6 cards in my deck. I thought, wow, I still haven't drawn my Shivala. So I just waited and waited and waited. Ooh. 1 card left in my deck, still hadn't drawn my Shivala, so I just Holy Wrath my opponent in the face. 2.
That's always the first card I put in the deck.
Okay.
I type in the Tiger into search.
The Tiger.
Seiko gets going with some early battle cry pressure. Pavel expends a Consecration to fend it off. Very common spot I've found myself in as the Holy Wrath Paladin side is that I am threatening to be chipped away a lot.
Yep.
And I will say, if it's a matchup where you need value and you need to chip away, that is right up Seiko's alley. That to me is where he has found his strength. You look at some of his dominance in Season 1 with Rogue, when Rogue was like in its Tier S, Tier 0 form, and he was one of the best at it.
Admirable was just losing his mind on a weekly basis about how Seiko just seemed to play all his cards every turn and then end the turn with more cards in his hand than he started.
I don't understand. Like, it's still...
he was shadow stepping Novice Engineers, all right? We've been through this.
But that's a net 0. It just didn't make any... Like, I would go home and try it, and I'd be like, I have 2 cards left. Go watch a Seiko game and be like, no, he still has 9.
He got so enthused about how many cards he had in his hand when he was playing Rogue, he just brought Mountain Giant Rogue to this season. Actually true, not a joke.
He took a goblet off the treasure in that game as well.
Yeah, he did.
The Torrens Goblet. Got nothing but Shadow Steps, and I flipped out. In very Seiko fashion, he used about 7 Shadow Steps.
I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Nice pressure going. Seiko looks to be fairly concerned with just pressing the issue versus Pavel, saying, you know what, you've got to have the right tools. That's going to slow your card draw. That's going to give me time. Time equals pressure.
Yep. It's a pretty common dynamic in the early game in this matchup, in that, you know, a bunch of little token minions will come down, 1/1s and 2/1s, a couple of 3 health minions here and there. So, you know, Pyrocrystology in the early game is huge. Pyroprismatic Lens in the early game is huge. Spell Damage Consecration in the early game is huge.
I love how you build up to that. So now for Seiko, you're not thrilled about the turn, but you are pretty thrilled to have Novice Engineer.
Yeah, happy to have Weaponized Wasp as well. It's one of your only real cards that can threaten lethal against Paladin. Life Drinker and Weaponized Wasp are the go-tos. Rare that you get to build up enough Kobold Lackeys in time in this matchup. Although Seiko has converted to Team Witchwood Piper. Welcome aboard, Seiko, which will help him out, digging out those Sludge Slurpers and Evil Cable Rats.
Hashtag Team No Former Champ.
Is he also? Okay, yeah, he's also Team No Former Champ. All right. Wow, Seiko's just the nuts from your perspective.
Brilliant instinct.
Yeah, he's playing a youthful Brewmaster in there as well.
Well, that should be too.
Seiko's just in your head.
There's little time.
Yeah, it's brilliant deck building. Like some of the finest deck building I think the world has ever seen.
It cannot be overstated how perfect this build of Shaman is. I like former champs. I think they're correct for the format.
It's
maybe
good.
not for ladder.
It's good versus Druid, that's it. I concede that. You need it for tournament play. Druid's a common matchup. I'm in pain. Is that the sound? Is that the sound that you make when you swing with the True Silver?
Yeah, actually is.
Or I guess don't swing with it for that matter.
Yeah, I think
Oh, yeah, accurate. That is the sound I make when I don't.
That is definitely the sound Admirable makes when he misses 4 damage.
Well, it's delayed 4.
Okay, yeah, sure.
It's the same feeling effect to me. Calm down, you'll get it next turn.
But Mom, I want it now!
I think it just makes the most sense with Seiko's hand. Just not a lot going on.
Yeah, it's just a slow hand. Like, honestly, protecting your face from damage here is borderline irrelevant. Like, its relevancy is 1 remaining life drinker in your deck, and that's about it.
Pavel's about to rocket off next turn. Holy smokes, that hand is so good. Double Flash of Light with Soup Vendor.
Yep. And a tree. What if he draws a nice Crystal Smith Kangol to go with this as well? Just doing it now.
It actually hurts your ability to draw 2 cards.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, you haven't taken enough damage.
That happened to me the first time I played this deck. I went, ha-ha! And I was like, ooh, I healed to 28. Bad choice.
No, it wouldn't work, right? Depending on what you hit with the True Silver this turn. I was thinking you could just play Kangor for the True Silver swing at the end and not with the Flash of Lights, but you'd still have to take more damage this turn to make that happen.
One shot, one kill.
The thing that I feel I'm confused with the most is just how good Elven Archer has felt in this deck.
It's so clutch.
It's the strangest thing to me.
It's just a weird card that just fulfills a bunch of roles. Like, you need a certain number of cards that you draw off Christology, so you're already, you know, doing whatever it is, attack :1 in your collection to find out what all those minions are. And then when you're looking at all the options, like, what are you going to do? Play a Silverback Patriarch in your deck? Like, no, something's got to come in that has some kind of effect. We used to see Bloodsail Corsair being played when it was a more weapon-heavy meta. But then outside of that, just 1 damage, create early breakpoints against 2 health minions, synergy with Subdue, synergy with Equality. It's just a good card. And it costs 1, so you can get it out of your hand whenever you want.
And at the end of the game, if your opponent's at 30 and you have True Silver equipped, you can just 30 them.
You do just 30. Of course, that's the one you want to talk about. It's just 1 face.
Well, for me, as I particularly recall Frozen mentioning that was one of the purposes in the deck.
Yeah,
keep you off board and stay 30.
Yes, I agree. Yes, that was very, very relevant, more so in the previous metagame than it is in this one. Like, I think this metagame, there aren't that many classes that will just heal back to 30 over and over again. They either stack up massive armor, or they don't really heal at all. So it doesn't come up too often these days, but it definitely used to be a more relevant factor. This is a nice board of 1 health minions you have here. Shame if something were to happen to it.
What do you happen to them with, though?
Yeah, good question.
You Holy Wrath?
Probably.
No fear of like a weird Shudderwalk turn that happens?
Some fear. So they can heal for 6 with 1 remaining life drinker, and then they heal for 6 again with their Shudderwalk. Sometimes Youthful Brewmasters and Bog Sloshers come into play there. But I think more dangerous is just having your hand stall out completely, which it kind of is right now.
Well, I was curious if there's a way you can Shrink Ray to start slowly tanking some damage. It's only 7 at a time.
Oh, you just want to Shrink Ray pass?
Well, I'm curious about it. Like, how much time do you buy by Shrink Ray and passing?
All right, yeah, sure, it's worth thinking about.
I mean, this is the old Freeze Mage tactic, right? Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you'd face up against a board 1 once, and you're like, I'm effectively freezing every turn. Got it.
Right.
You're like, Ice Barrier, go. And they're like, oh, gosh, -1 damage. Oh, my gosh, he's doing it.
It's a good spot. I honestly didn't consider it, but as soon as you said it and explained it, I'm like, yeah, maybe that does just make sense.
Oh, and I can tell you for Seiko, that does not feel good.
Yeah, Seiko's upset. You can see how effective that play is. Just by this kind of, all right, petulant, hit you for 7 pass.
That stupid Annoyatron is messing all of this up!
I know. Which is kind of why I was feeling like the board clear was important, and also why I wasn't too concerned about damage, right? Because 4 more was going face that turn, and then you still have second True Silver in your deck, so like you're beating a lot of healing from Seiko's deck at that point.
I am hoping this wasn't fancy play syndrome, which I, often find myself a victim of.
I do actually like it. Genuinely, I think it's better than what I suggested.
I think it's just seeing the second True Silver drawn is like compounding the issue in my head.
Right, but like what were the other 8 cards, right? The other 8 outcomes that could have happened this turn, which makes it seem very reasonable. Well, if he's going to end up doing this the next turn anyway.
I think it's smart if you're going to do it the next turn anyway. You bought yourself a turn. That's what it feels like to me.
Okay.
Like, instead of using the Shrink Ray, clearing, and then rolling into another board that's full, you use the Shrink Ray, you took 7 damage, and now you have initiative. Like, the Shrink Ray set up him being able to clear easily this turn and actually have things in play.
So there was a 3-1 that would have been remaining, right? That would have been the only difference. I guess it's a difference. It's relevant. Yeah, sure.
Get you a card deeper in your deck, too.
Yeah.
Like, just that timer, I think, is very relevant as well.
Okay.
It felt worth 7 health to me.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was a good way of putting it.
Congrats, me.
Yeah! Interest in the Titanic Lackey? Indeed.
Interest in not getting hit in the face with a True Silver champion and playing to these life drinker outs.
Honestly, I do feel like the games that we've seen Seiko on Quest Shaman, his pan out towards the end has been quite poor. Like, he's had these pretty decent early starts, or at times miserable early starts. He drew a number of cards this game. It was that novice turn where he picked up 2 mind control techs back to back. Like, that card is just a 3-mana 3/3 in the matchup. You never ever get the effect.
Actual steaming Garbaggio in this matchup.
What would Uther do? The light bends to my will.
Interesting. I like this opportunity to take it to Pavel too. There are times with this deck that you take unique stances and how you want to operate, and fighting for board is definitely one of those spots.
Well, I was curious whether this Chevalier usage was just to get the True Silver damage to go face, more so than it was about fighting for board.
It's both, right?
Sure.
Oh, it's a 2-cost Hammer Wrath. He grabbed the Hammer Wrath, and I almost panicked. I just forgot it was 2-cost, and I was about to lose my mind.
Jeez, admirable. Pay attention to the game you're casting.
Oh, my goodness. Whew. Calm down. Calm down. Pavel's reading the numbers.
Everything's fine. Deep breaths, everyone.
Serenity now.
Woo-saw.
And you can see the trouble it is. I think Pavel's read the situation correctly.
What?
Did just take full board, though, on that turn. So I guess he is fearing what the Life Drinker into Shudderwock line looks like for him.
It's just so... I mean, this is just strong, though, too,
Yep.
right?
No, I agree.
You've already used one of your Holy Wraths, so the first Shrivala Banker is an expenditure of that time.
Yeah, it's free, essentially. You just get to do this once, and it's not really a big deal.
Yeah, just cost you time in the deck.
Yep.
Drink with me, friend.
Ah, yes. Vitally important. He bounced nothing twice.
And you gotta kill that one.
But now the Brew's gone, which cuts down on the heal outs for Seiko. I think it is something that you do start immediately thinking about as Shaman when one Holy Wrath gets used, because the matchup is so miserable in terms of trying to kill them. And sometimes you kind of appreciate that window being opened, and you're like, well, okay, I'll just try and stay at 30 as best I can. I think you saw Seiko very clearly switch that kind of out, where he's like, okay, big taunt every turn. Play a taunt, don't get True Silvered. Bounce the taunt back again, don't get True Silvered next turn.
Hopefully find a Novice.
Draw my Life Drinkers.
Hopefully find Life Drinker as a result.
Yeah.
Hopefully find Shudderwock.
Yeah, when I say Life Drinkers, there's a 4-mana Life Drinker and a 9-mana Life Drinker remaining in his deck.
You know, that is how I actually view that card in a lot of matchups.
9-mana Life Drinker.
Like 9-mana double Life Drinker.
Yeah.
Or in my case with my stupid double brew, double slosher build.
9-mana, 2 and a bit Pyroblasts.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about it that way. 2 and a bit sounds like the perfect number.
Do you like to play with fire?
How much is a bit? I don't know. I'm thinking about those Life Drinkers too. Start cutting into the life now. Oof. I'm seeing a mutate, and I'm seeing one plan and one plan only.
Go on.
Well, I'm going to play some 3/3s because they don't do anything.
Engaging TC-130.
Maybe they attack.
Engaging TC-130.
What about a nice 4/2 Lifesteal Reborn guy?
Nah, I want the 8. It can be Octosari.
It could be Octosari. That is an excellent argument.
It's like 3%, I think. I want to say there's like 32 or 36 8-drops.
He's not far off just killing him with Zephyrus without ever using the
Seriously.
second Holy Wrath.
What would Uther do?
I guess that's why people are cutting the True Silver. You're just like, ah, this is just overkill.
Yeah. He spent a whole turn just board controlling as well. Hammer of Wrath went minion, True Silver went minion, I think.
Pretty important
so
to note
much damage.
the lens interaction here. I don't think lens is playable.
With the Shrivala in the deck.
Your wish is my suggestion.
I guess you just wouldn't want to play it, I guess is my thought.
Oh, I thought that's what you were saying.
I must act now.
What did he want?
A better card?
Any more specifics?
He just keeps going face!
I think I mean, that's the reason he swung first, right? Is that he wanted damage from Zephyrus?
So in Seiko's spot, he needs to find Ethereal Lackeys. He needs Ethereal Lackeys to produce healing cards,
Which is Brew.
and he needs Pavel to fail to have Shrivala remaining in the deck on the next draw.
That sounds like a fraction of a % win rate to me.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Ethereal Lackey. Pair of them.
All right, all very impressive, Shudderwock. Yes, 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 we understand. Thank you. Witch's Brew.
Power.
No.
There is little time. I'm almost out of cards.
That's a Tiger. Seiko has one more turn.
He's got to heal for 15.
Which means if he doubles up on Ethereal Lackey, then the 3 Witch's Brews he'll be able to cast won't be good enough anyway. So it's a 1-outer.
7, 6, yeah, it's a 1-outer. Any other clever way you could get into this?
Evolve targets. No way,
There's
right?
no bounce left.
Even if you had...
Oh, you could evolve a 2 into a Spellword
A
Jeweler. And
Spellword
reset it.
Jeweler! Oh! And it's hidden behind an Annoyatron as well, so you can't even Shivala it. It doesn't matter, it's Battlecry. What am I talking about? It's Battlecry, it's nonsense. Ignore what I said.
I'm just thinking the Spellword Jeweler in general.
Wait, but it's Battlecry, that's the problem.
When did it enter play if it evolves? Does it count as... Well, seriously, because that matters for hand spacing, right?
Sure. Oh, you want to bounce it back and then play it again?
Well, I have a Barista in my hand.
Right.
I mean, that's the only way he gets there, right?
It is now. But it won't... You can't get it in your hand, right? There's too many other battle cries on the board.
So if you use Mutate on this 1-2, that 1-2 entered play before these 2 Ethereal Lackeys did. So the 2 battle cries are Shutterwalk, and then if it evolved into Spellword Jeweler, that.
Okay.
If you use the Mutate, you got 8 cards in hand, you barista down to 7.
Okay.
Brilliance knows no bounds.
Honestly, he spotted the line. He really did.
Yeah.
It's a fraction of a percent. 1 in X, where X is the number of 3-cost cards. But that was the only way. I still can't believe he had a way to stay alive.
There usually is. When you can potentially evolve into any minion in the game, there's often a way. And you just got to try and find that way. One in 1,000 games, you might just get your way out of it.
Probably a second timeout. But it's the principle
It's fine.
of
He
thing.
just draws another bouncer the next turn.
It's a principle of thing.
Yeah.
Even despite the smallest amount of odds you can get, you have to play to those outs.
Yeah.
That's a perfect demonstration of that spot. No 9-drop going to save you.
I think Seiko responded to just about every situation he had to respond to very, very well. He tried to play for aggression early, which is kind of correct to do in the matchup. It's a tough matchup to kind of get that aggression going because all your aggression just gets blown up by 1 Pyro or 1 Consecration. But then when Pavel's hand stalled and he was forced to use the Holy Wrath, Seiko responded to that properly as well, which is okay. Changed my game plan. My pressure plan isn't going to work out here. I did not get off to a strong enough start. I don't have 3 Kobold Lackeys and a Weaponized Wasp in my hand. Like, this isn't a consistent plan. Play a taunt, bounce my Titanic Lackey, reset for the next idea, which is try and draw that Life Drinker and get out of range. Then when that all went out the window and he just said, okay, panic mode, what ridiculous fraction of a percentage out can I find here? Firstly, look for the Witch's Brew, correct. Secondly, look for the Spellward Jeweler, absolutely correct. He did everything he could. 2 critical turns for Pavel. That gave it to me. The Shrink Ray to buy the time. Stall out the board position for Seiko to where he could do nothing on that turn. And then also the Tempo Shivala, recognizing that he'd already used a Holy Wrath and saying, well, this first banker then just doesn't do anything. It just helps me fight for board. And so the massive lifesteal from Shivala giving him, for him, seemingly freedom of time for the rest of the game. Right. 2 critical moments on Pavel's side, and then all the critical aspects from Seiko's side as well. So we got to go to a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be jumping into game number 2 of our second match here on Splendid Sunday. Pavel taking on Seiko. Pavel, the 1-0 lead. Stay tuned.
Rising again, darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the Hall of Explorers, and up from the dusty tomb, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the market. Mysticism. There's surely scorching deserts
My real name is Ling Nguyen and my gamer tag is Seiko. My username actually has no meaning. When I start playing, I try to find a name and that was available. My favorite esports memory in Hearthstone is probably winning the Nationals, because that's the first tournament I won. And I hope I can win some more this year. I don't think my play is that unique, because I feel like there's almost only one play every time. I actually have no hobbies anymore, because Hearthstone just took too much time that I just stopped any other hobbies. I was about to finish my bachelor, but then I started Hearthstone, and now I'm back and trying to finish it. I think it will be really hard to balance study and Grandmasters. Maybe I just skip the exams again. Hearthstone is for sure a higher priority right now. My personal goal this year will be to get to the Grandmasters finals and maybe to win it.
Hello everyone, I'm Pavel. I didn't think too much about the username. I just wanted something simple and recognizable, so I thought that my name is perfect because I like my name. I'm looking forward to play and compete against one of the best players in the world. Most of them are my friends. I'm excited about the opportunity to qualify for the global finals. I wouldn't call myself a unique player. I just think that everyone can achieve good results if you work hard and play a lot of Hearthstone. My favorite memory of Hearthstone Esports is definitely when I won a World Championship in 2016 and just took a trophy. I was just overwhelmed. One of the things that I like outside of Hearthstone gaming is to go on the nature trips, for example, go hiking or do a picnic or something. It feels really good to be in the Grandmaster League and be alongside with one of the best players in the world. I'm still a really good player. I'm looking forward to playing Grandmaster and show everyone there's no any other player who is better than me.
Welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters. Splendid Sunday here for Europe, which means that we got 6 matches, and we are amidst our second right now. I'm Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora, joined by Simon Sotto-Welch, and it looks like you want to say something, so go ahead.
Point of order, Admirable. We are way too far into the broadcast for you to have not said bonus match and amuse me yet, so can you just do that one time for me?
Bonus match.
Thank you. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect. Carry on.
Oh, I thought you were going to take it from there.
No, it's all you.
I insist.
Very well. Game number 2
does
between
work.
Pavel and Seiko. I think that was a very, very interesting match. Really, really enjoyable interaction. I think Holy Wrath Paladin, super intricate deck. It's been a big talking point across a lot of regions. I think every game that is played, different players, different casters. Even our producer was chiming in on Twitter last night about a couple of Holy Wrath plays that he spotted. I think it's a super interesting deck. I love watching it. But now we've got to follow up with the rest of that series. And I believe that there are 2 protected priests in this series.
Ooh.
Admirable.
I love alliterations.
You don't want to hear Frodan say that. Rip ears. That's right.
Protected priest.
I'm going there.
Pop the peas. He's the only person I've ever met that can pop a G.
I know. It's incredible.
It has to be deliberate at this point, right?
He's never, like, mentioned it, though. Like, it's the kind of long game troll that Dan would play on people.
Yeah, it's exactly what I would do. I don't want to hurt people that way.
All right, Priest Mirror time, Admirable. The only thing that matters is these first couple of turns. We should probably focus on them.
Well, Pavel has coin and power word shield, so I feel like this is actually one of the anomaly draws where you are at freedom to take your time.
Because also he has Topsy-Turvy, which can ruin this cleric's dreams alongside that pyromancer. So he actually does have the ability to clap back against a board, which is very often not the case. Coin, pyro, power word shield, Topsy-Turvy here. Full clear.
This is the anomaly to the matchup. Wild Pyro is a card that a lot of players have trimmed to one copy of. Neither of these players have.
This circle is never getting better than this in this matchup. If you can cast Circle of Healing and it has limited downside, I think you are very interested in doing so.
Talking Seiko's perspective, of course. Do you ever want this to die for the Seiko Pump?
Okay, actually, yeah. So digging into this more. If this dies, you then sometimes get a Injured Blade Master back from your Seiko Pump, but it's still only a 1 in 3 because you have a Cleric and a other guy, Wild Pyromancer, in there.
That sounds a lot better than getting Wild
However,
Pyro.
2 out of 3 times, if you don't circle and you let this Blade Master die, 2 out of 3 times you're either getting an Injured Blade Master back at full health, or you're getting a Northshire Cleric and you still have a Circle of Healing in your hand. So I think I spoke too hastily about how adamant I was about that circle play. I do still come to the same conclusion that Circle is a risky card to have in your hand in the matchup, and if you can play it in a spot where there's no downside on the other side of the board, you should do so, but it was definitely worth considering more. That's why Seiko is a better player than me, that's why he did take time to consider it, and I just made the snap judgment.
What is a loon's
Oh, don't be so hard on yourself.
Hey, we both ended up right. Stop being hard on myself to say that one of the best players in the world is better at Hearthstone than I am.
That's not what I was. It's just at the very end. You're like, at the very end, you're like, and that's why I suck, and I'm never playing again.
That's just not why I suck.
That's just kind of the way it felt.
You don't have to worry about my ego, Admirable. It's well and truly intact.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Excellent point. See, that's why Sottle's a better caster than me. Is
Go on.
long string of thoughts related to mistake that was made.
I wonder.
Is that same true for Pavel and his Injured Blade Master?
It's very, very interesting, right? Like, I kind of think it just is. This is a weird game. I kept saying this yesterday. You think you've seen every iteration of the Priest Mirror because you've played it so much, and then a new one just comes up every time.
I'm going to be perfectly honest. This particular iteration is when I stopped playing Priest, is because I had just been getting beat up in every matchup, and then I queued into a Priest, and they had a coin, and I had a Northshire Cleric on 1, and then I had a Northshire Cleric on 2, and then their Wild Pyromancer blew up my whole board, and I went, okay, that's enough Hearthstone today, because it was at the string of about 7 hours of play at that point.
Right.
And that's the kicker I've always looked out for. Wild Pyro, coin, Powerword Shield.
That's the bad one. This game still very much in the balance going into the mid game, though. Not something that can often be said about Priest Mirrors.
It is quite unusual. I mean, this feels like one of those games where, like, I look at it and I go, this is why Bwonsamdi is in the deck.
Yeah.
It's when you're fighting aggressively, you're using lots of resources, but your opponent's doing that as well, and you end up in parity. Every card in the deck has its purpose, and I think a lot of those purposes of those cards are being demonstrated in this early game.
Yeah, very often this Priest Mirror is just broken early by a tempo in a fire, by one player curving into Armet and the other person not having it. Like, there's so many things that could just go wrong for one side, but both players just had pretty similar hands up until this point.
Like to play with fire?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I like this.
All right, I didn't look at this. This is interesting.
You just make so much progress on board.
You give 3-2 into 1-2 as an option, though, is the only thing I'm annoyed about at this turn.
I think you're happy to trade the Wild Pyro into that. You got extra arms on your Injured Blade Master with a heal.
Yeah.
Like for Seiko, I imagine you have to be interested in the value trade in this spot, but at the same time, you're staring down that Wild Pyro. At the same time, you're looking at an Injured Blade Master. What's that one card in their hand? And so I think that's the first order, is try to figure out if you can think what would make them play towards this point.
Right.
I think it's a lot of things.
Yeah, I don't think it's easy to get any particular read. I think you can rule out some cards, like Northshire Cleric, for example, which seemed pretty spectacular on several occasions, particularly when you were casting your Circle of Healing. But in terms of divining what it actually is, I don't think that's a read that's possible at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think the deductive logic point is important, though.
Yeah.
That tells me I want to play it tells me that I want to use the rest of my hand.
Quickly.
That might just be foolish because the hero power is so efficient with injured minions.
Hey, I got you, friend.
Especially the way the resources are going.
That value trade did upset me.
That looked good to me. I kind of liked it.
I think it probably was, on reflection, like the most aggressive play to board that Pavel could have done that turn, which is more often than not the correct play in the Priest Mirror.
You have to arms the Pyro here.
What is a loon's will?
Arms the Pyro, heal what?
So if you arms the Pyro, you have the option that leaves the Pyro at 2 health. It leaves the injured Blade Master at 1 health.
Yes.
So then if you want to trade and keep whichever one,
yes, exactly.
That's just going to be a little puzzle here, right? I think I'm more interested in keeping the Pyro around personally. A, this puts injured Blade Master into your Seiko Pomp pool. B, it's just got more attack.
Yes, it also, if you do it the other way around, you leave the 4-1 after the fact against the 1-1, so this is just straight up better on board in terms of breakpoints as well. Where did this real-life game of Hearthstone come into our Priest Mirror? Like, how did this happen?
Life is enough.
Wild Pyro coin Power Word Shield.
Yeah. I mean, it's more than that. It's like that Seiko had the ability to like come back into the game at that point as well, because, you know, that was a full board swing for Pavel, which you usually feel like you would capitalize on to victory in the Priest Mirror.
Oh, boy.
That can potentially be a big deal breaker, though. I do like not using it this turn.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you get some arms in there.
Deal with the board.
Oh, that does yield initiative, though.
Does it?
Job's done.
What on
Wait.
earth is the
Wait,
purpose of that interfire?
that doesn't do
Understand.
anything. Pavel, that did absolutely nothing except mean you don't have an inner fire in your hand. What on earth?
Yeah, that's just a horrendous error.
Very, very bad.
The end begins.
In the light's name.
You know, the weirdest thing in the world is you look forward to how the life totals panned out should either player have been not attacking phase.
That is a good point, actually. I can't remember specifically when those face attacks went through, but it's definitely a good talking point. Light Wardens are scary. If you want your opponent to buff Light Wardens, you'd much rather they were healing you than healing themselves.
Murder!
Gosh, this is a scrappy game of Priest.
In the light's name.
Well, Pavel's got a very secured lead at this point. Seiko Pomp was such a massive pickup. Man, imagine if you had an interfire.
Yep.
Hey, I got you, friend.
I mean, goodness, like what are you doing?
Such a weird play.
Like, you know, I've talked about it before too, though. Like Pavel, like he just makes absent-minded mistakes a lot of times. Like that's like historically one of the biggest things he's done.
Okay, all right, we're in business. I don't know what the sequence of draws are, but I can tell you they start with a cleric, and they are not followed by a beaming psychic.
The draw was Circle of Healing.
Yes.
I wonder.
Pick one.
Hey,
Like,
I got you, friend.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we're just both kind of silent there. It's like, does this really matter? But it kind of does, but either way, Pavel just like gets to respond differently to whichever situation you set up. Like either trade is perfectly reasonable for him to make into a 4-7 or into a 1-5.
All right, step 1, kill cleric. 3-1 and 2-3.
3-1 and 2-3. Yes. Sign me up.
Well, I'm not giving a card over, and I'm not sacking my Light Ward.
No.
Step 2, use hero power.
Step 3.
Never set Ritualist.
Step 4.
Base.
Yeah. I knew that was coming.
What is a loon's will?
What about this 1-2, though?
I don't mind the bump. I think the bump is interesting. It's kind of responsible, actually.
Right. Use it now.
Agreed. Yep. I think this is kind of the little hidden play that just does make that turn just a little bit better. Take the value bump. You're using 3 heals anyway. You might as well heal 3 things with it.
The end begins.
That danged wild pyro.
Twice now back from the Seiko pump.
We brought you back from the dead twice. You did nothing.
You have been.
Pavel 2-0 over Seiko in this set. And that Seiko pop at the end of the game, that was the big one for Pavel.
Not too much pomp coming out from Seiko right now because he is feeling very, very down about his situation, and you cannot blame him for it. Now he's looking up potentially towards Fino after, for the last couple of weeks, just looking down and just hoping that Fino wasn't able to catch him. The catching has already been done at this point. Now Fino has opportunities to open up a lead.
Yeah, it's a big loss to take, you know, especially when you contrast it with the Season 1 that Seiko had, where he looked fantastic. I would have called him
fantastic.
I would have called him technically, you know, the best player in Season 1. I
Very
really would
possibly,
have.
Yeah. I think I may have said those exact words on air before, that, you know, by peer review, he just had some of the best technical play in Season 1.
Yeah, and so, you know, looking at that last game, I think that the big difference is going to be the Seiko pump consideration on Seiko's side. I think it's just a numbers management problem.
The Circle of Healing turn?
Yeah, where if you're willing to let the Injured Blade Master go, what that means is that sometimes you're willing to let your Injured Blade Master die, and they still have one as well. So I think at the end of the day, the Circle of Healing is proper.
I do too. But again, I think it was a very interesting turn. I don't think I gave it enough credit when the circle was just drawn and we're like, well, this is a circle that you can play in the Priest Mirror and not die. Like, fantastic, sign me up. But there definitely was a lot more to that turn than I initially gave credit to. Seiko spent the full quota of that turn thinking about it, which I think he was right to do, and I do think he came to the right conclusion.
Yeah, either way, well played, Sirius and Pavel, aside from that inner fire. So let's hear from the man himself. Pavel, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
How's it going, my friend?
It's going decent. I don't like my score this week because I'm supposed to win a series against War Control. I threw against him twice. First time in a protect and ban phase, and second time in game 3. I should have definitely win game 3, but I made some wrong decisions and I ended up losing. And I also don't like how I played my last turns against Seiko and Paladin against Shaman. When I decided to not play Lance, I did not consider that he can potentially discover a heal card from his Lucky. So I actually gave him one more turn to do that. But besides that, I like how I played Paladin against Shaman. And also, I don't like that I played Inner Fire for no reason. Just waste Inner Fire.
I've got to ask, what did you think was going to happen when you played the Inner Fire? Like, what was your thought process at the time?
I was thinking that my power is going to survive. I forget that he'll also damage himself.
Okay, fair enough. Mistakes happen, whatever, moving on.
Yeah, look, the macro play is the important part.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to give you space and say that was okay because it wasn't. But honestly, that's kind of just been like a Pavel for years now. Like, you just make a little absent-minded mistake. You're like, whatever. I got the rest of this. Like, the first time, I remember when it happened with Life Coach, we interviewed you. It was like a year after the fact. I remember you mentioning it. You had to go to the bathroom real bad.
Yeah, it's how it was.
And this time it was just like, darn.
So I want to dig deeper into the ball control thing you were talking about. You said that you feel like you messed up in the pick ban phase. Like, can you explain that more? What do you think you should have done in that situation?
Yeah, I should have just protect warrior.
Okay. Your warrior has the Elysiana. You think that's the big deal in the matchup?
Yeah, I have Elysiana, so mirror is almost free for me, and I favored against priest, not that bad against druid.
And so let's talk about your season here for a minute, because this is a pretty big turnaround from what you had in Season 1. You're sitting at a 6-4 record now. It's a winning record, and it's putting you in a position to actually make a strong run at a playoff race. Are there any opponents that you don't want to play against, that you are looking forward to playing against, etc., in your next coming weeks?
Doesn't matter.
Man, a few words. Pavel, anything else you'd like to say before we let you go?
Not really. I'm good.
All right. Well, Pavel, thank you very much for your time. Always good to see you back in good form, because I think you're playing pretty well. Just clean up a couple of those mistakes, and I think you're one of the best in the world. Thank you very much. Take care. He's going back to Friday?
The Galaxy Brain response is like, because we asked him about the inner fire and like, what on earth were you thinking? And then you talked about, he really needed the bathroom when he made that really famous mistake against Life Coach. So the Galaxy Brain response was, oh yeah, actually, I really need the bathroom. I'm going to go, just get up, just walk out of the interview.
Like, I mean, that seems to be less words than Pavel usually will say about situations.
Yeah.
I think that inner fire was clearly getting to him. He's just like, what am I doing? Like, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason mistakes like that bug you, right? Like, when you make a mistake that's like a very high level thing, sometimes you get out of the game and then someone else tells you, like you get on a call with your practice group and they say, oh, did you think about doing this in this position? You should have done this. This was probably better. And you're like, okay, yeah, fair enough. Like, I can learn from that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
When you just do something that you know is just so far below your own level, then yeah, that annoys you, because you're just like, well, what am I doing? Like, I'm better than this. This mistake doesn't represent me.
Like, there's nothing to learn here.
I shouldn't be doing stuff.
There's nothing to learn
Right.
there.
Like, don't be dumb. Like, that's all you're learning in that scenario. And like, everyone's dumb sometimes, so it's a hard mistake to just completely shake out of your game.
I know exactly how those people feel, because that's me all the time. So perhaps for me, a learning experience.